Yeah, dude. Is that recording? Yep. Yeah, that's what's up. Alright. Cool. Alright, so you want me to tell you a story about my life? Go on to the camera. This is Mike. I'm Devin. This is the Ski Patrol Podcast, episode 1. Where are we?
Rambling in the bump, bambling in the bump. You want alliteration in the name?
Straight. Stand in the bump. Alliteration is good. Nothing wrong with alliteration.
Yeah, but the title's important.
The title of the podcast?
Well, I guess not, because Joe Rogan put his just called the Joe Rogan Experience, right?
It's Ski Patrol. I don't know. We can think about the title later, dude. So we were talking about what our drug experience. I was really talking. You weren't really talking. Okay. This is my wager. Or this is my proposition. Mm-hmm. I'll continue to talk on camera about my experiences with.
Oh, it's your camera.
Drugs
you can
and
talk about whatever you
want. Well, no, follow me out. Or let me finish the proposition. You can agree or disagree, or what do you do with propositions? You accept or not accept or counter propose something. If you're willing to also then share experiences that you feel are worthy of discussion. Is that fair?
Sounds fair.
Because I just told the story of doing DMT for the one and only time in my life, and I was dosed. That is to say, I took it without knowing, although it's not fair to say dosed, with respect to the fact that nobody really meant to give it to me. It wasn't like somebody put it in my water or anything. Anyway, that was a good story. And so we had in my opinion, we had the idea Mike did to record a podcast. So with permission, I'll go ahead and tell a couple incident stories, anecdotes about times in my life where I had great awakenings, if you like. Or trips, if you're more comfortable with that, that I would argue have helped me to grow into myself as a young man and move forward in my life. And then hopefully Mike will share something too. So I told the story of trying DMT unwittingly before we were on camera, and if I was going to recount something of that for the recording, what do you think is valuable, or what do you think is worthwhile to communicate?
Well, I was trying to animate what you're going through the whole time in my head, like trying to animate the experience. Like, could you redo the story? Sure.
So I'll try to tell it efficiently. I have a friend to this day who lives in Ecuador, who has a successful podcast. I shouldn't say podcast, YouTube channel. You know who you are. Much love. I was at his apartment in Santa Cruz. We went on to be roommates after this time. We used to skateboard together and do fun things together. I was going to go out to dinner with my girlfriend at the time. So I was over at my homie's house and was going to just have a bong rip, and asked him for a rip of weed. He was a weed dealer at the time, had like a pound often, so I knew it wasn't too much skin off his back to ask to do so, and I would have done the same, so I didn't feel bad about it. So I asked him if I could have some herb, and as I recall, he just kind of, yeah, sure, man. They had several bongs in the house. I grabbed one. Little did I know, as I explained to Mike a moment ago, that my buddy had a roommate at the time who was doing more heavy drugs. So he was doing black tar heroin. He was going through some hard times in his life. I didn't know him very well. And he also was doing DMT. So as it turns out, I grabbed the bong from the table amongst many others, and it looked like a bowl of was not at this other place. It wasn't in DMT land, which was really pleasant. It was a weight lifted. I was no longer part of my own story. I was just, you know, the experiential self. So I don't really remember, but I had all of these kind of lifetimes of information come in like super fast. And I only really remember, you know, some images from it, but I just remember a volume of data coming in, like huge amounts of information from lifetimes of you know, of life, like lives lived. And then I came back, and I was telling Mike that coming back was the most kind of palpably intense and meaningful and like, you know, part of the experience. It was the part of the experience that I wanted to like decode and make sense of more than almost anything else, because there was so much visceral feeling that I had from it. And what it was is I went through the kaleidoscope, just had all of this like lifetime of knowledge come in that was just so fast that I couldn't really make sense of it. And then, you know, like as if I had seen all these previous lives or just been given like geometric data. I can't really describe it. It was like being blinded by information, if there's such a thing. And then again, coming back was the you know, the third part of it, if you like, and it was the most, again, like challenging because I wanted to like work through it. I wanted to try to understand it. Mm-hmm. And as I described to you, it was like being a drop of, to use a good metaphor, I think, as being a drop of water in a pressurized water pipe. But it was more akin to like a wormhole. Everything was black. There wasn't any visual cues of what was happening. It was just I felt it so intensely. And this was years ago, but I can still recount it, in my opinion, accurately, at least to myself. You know, honoring my own experience of it. So I'm just flowing, like I'm just, you know, going, and I'm one, you know, all of my sensory capacity is just one little infinitesimal part of this whole flow. And it felt great. And then I went into a smaller tube off of the main, you know, flow and accelerated. And then turned it, and it, again, smaller tube, and accelerated again. And again, and then boom, I was back in myself, on the ground, at my buddy's house, like as if I had been given something that I wouldn't know what to do with for years. Like it was like that joy of being given your father's, you know, samurai sword or something. It was like there was something so powerful that I now had that I had no idea what to do with. And yeah, I remember I told Mike the same thing a moment ago, and it's true. I was just like going to my buddies, and I don't really smoke cigarettes, but I do like spliffs. So I can't say I don't smoke tobacco. But I go, hey man, let me get a cigarette. And they're like, yeah, sure. Like, what was that like? And I go, I'm not afraid of death anymore because I know what it is. And that's a weird thing to say. And I'm not trying to be glamorous. I'm not trying to like make myself seem cool. Believe me, I got a lot of issues. You know, I'm not Mr. Cool Guy. It's just that the experience of what DMT gave me made me not afraid to leave my body, let's say, because the DMT trip had nothing to do with the body. It had everything to do with what it is to experience input and flow, and those are still things I'm trying to like understand fully. So that was my DMT trip. Yeah, it was at a part of my life where I really started growing into myself. And yeah, I've had several other hallucinations around that time in my life that were also really transformative. And I'll talk about those if you guys like. And we'll see what Mike has to say. I want to make sure this is still recording. Yeah, we're good. Right, so up to you, man. Would you like to share something, or what's up? Do you want me to keep going? Because I can keep talking about that part of my life and share some other stuff. What'd you write down?
Let's go. So this is more like kind of what I was thinking while listening to your story for the second time, because I was thinking about other things, but mainly you were looking at the camera, so yeah, I feel okay. So I wrote down, I am of two minds. While I'm watching and listening, Devin, I'm also thinking about past experience. An example, pictures while fucked up. I've had the same experience getting drunk. And I've had like pictures taken of me like that I don't exactly know. Like, why would somebody take pictures of you while you're fucked up? Like, is it a funny thing? Is it a ha-ha thing? Or is it like, I got them fucked up and now I'm taking pictures of their fucked up states? Like, what is it?
Yeah, I can see probably two possible answers dependent. I don't know, of course. It's probably situationally dependent, right? You got to ask the person, or you got to know the true intention of that individual to answer the question accurately. But my opinion is that there's probably two intentions that most often animate the person doing that. Getting somebody fucked up and then, oh, look at them. It's either a slight, it's either a social manifestation of the person's anger or wish to harm the other, like it's a way of hurting the other person. Oh, if I can do something to humiliate the person and then commemorate the humiliation, I've gained a point. So I can see that being a thing. But the other that I see is just honest to goodness science. I can see somebody being altruistic but being incredibly interested. Like, if we both did mushrooms and one of us, acted strangely, there would be an impulse to commemorate that, just to study it, just to have some kind of recollection of it, not necessarily in any socially negative way. So I don't know the answer to that, but I think that there are those two sides that I can see, one that's kind of neutral and one that's negative. I don't see it necessarily being positive unless there's a celebratory sense to it. Look at us, we're so fucked up, this life's great. So I don't know the answer. That's a good question.
Okay. I think I might have had a negative one with some people that I believe were my friends while I was in the Marines. I never really talked a lot. Well, it depends. Like, I could do short, like really short, like conversations, but then I'd leave. I'd always find a way to leave, and I don't think people really either like or understand that about me. Like, sitting down and talking like this, and it never happens for me. This is probably the longest conversation that I have had in a long, long time.
How's it feel?
That feels good. It feels nice. It feels tranquil, almost.
Sure.
Which is good, because tranquil leads to thought. That actually led to this podcast. Maybe it could go somewhere. Maybe like another Joe Rogan experience. Anyway, so what I was thinking of was a previous Marine, O'Malley, we were at a party at his place and I got fucked up and I was throwing up. I kind of went to go hide behind a boat because I didn't want anybody to see me like that. Like I always have to maintain.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you can't give another Marine in your, whatever it's called, unit or platoon, any fucking ammunition to make fun of you, right? That's rule number one, right? I don't know. I'm just saying. I can understand that. Go on. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I'm Doc, so there's a difference. I take care of them, so they take care of me. Type deal.
Do you mind if I eat, by the way?
Oh, of course. Put that shit down. You put it down now. No, go ahead. Do your eating thing.
All right.
Go on.
No, go on though. I'm sorry.
But thank you for bringing it up. That was very thoughtful.
You're talking about O'Malley and you're talking about going behind the boat when you're throwing up. Go on. I've been there, dude. You don't have to feel bad about it. Just be honest with it.
Oh, I'm trying to remember it. ADHD, I kind of do what's happening. I don't really see what's going on around me. I just try to maintain.
Nothing wrong with that.
So I kind of have to think back through my past with the perspective that I've learned now from the memories of old. But I'm finding that my memory keeping skills back then weren't that great. So I have to start logging all my thoughts similar to what you did at 15. At 15. Have you seen this shit? Dude.
What did I write that you find interesting?
What's it? Who am I? Haven't read it yet, but I never had that thought at 15. I never had to ask myself, who am I at 15? And this is a Catholic school you went to?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just being asked these questions at that age just incites thinking, internal thinking. Be prepared. Amazing. Never complain, never explain. Is that...
Never complain, never explain. Just do you, dude.
Do what you think is right?
Why not?
But what is right? Because right is objective. Right is different for everybody,
Right.
But there are common rights. There are universal rights.
Right. And what I'm saying is, don't concern yourself with the greater societal concept of right behavior. Do what you think is right. Assuming you're, a rational, individual, and that people are naturally good, that would be a good tenet for behavior. If the assumption is that people are naturally evil, then systems of thinking and control need to take precedent over the human's free ability of expression. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that people are naturally evil. I don't. Because I have a capacity to evil. And I know that. Because I feel it. Because I know that when I'm seduced by it, I'm willing to engage with it even against the most imperceptibly small of slights. Like somebody giving me the cold shoulder or doesn't give me the same warmth in a social interaction. So I think we're all able to engage both polar can't think of the word I'm looking for. Valences of behavior. We can behave positively. We behave negatively, and I think an interesting discussion. I mean, that's beyond question. We all can do good things. We all can do bad things. A serial killer can still love their children. That's an extreme example. Mother Teresa can hit somebody. Like, I don't know. People have said detracting things about Mother Teresa. In fairness, so. Let's just start there existentially, that nobody is good and nobody is bad. We just are. That's way more difficult to deal with cognitively than is black and white. Black and white's easy. It's easy, it's clean, it's neat, it's simple, it's just wrong. So,
That's just wrong.
Yes, sir. If we only see life in binary, we never see life. Because the filter is so stark, right? I mean, anybody who is into behavioral psychology, economics, any kind of behavioral study, any kind of psychology or sociology would concede the fact that we have measures of filters on the sensory input coming in. I'm not just here with you. I'm here with you through the filter of my past experiences and the narrative that I've told myself about who I am in my life. And that's a hard thing, because I want to be able to get what you really are and what you're really giving in your behavior. But it's almost impossible to get past the filter of what is me without drugs or movement or sport or whatever takes us away from ourselves, right? That's why I think those things are so wonderful, used effectively and responsibly.
Drink responsibly.
Do everything responsibly.
Yeah.
But don't not do things because somebody else tells you not to. You feel me? So yeah, I think that the hard part is being aware of how much of our experience is the filter and how much of our experience is the actual input from the environment. And I argue that black and white is never the right way of looking at something, because it's a concede, it's a concession to the idea that my filter can effectively make things either one thing or the other thing. And it's just not reality. Things are not 1 or 0. In reality, things are a spectrum of electromagnetic radiation. That spectrum may be mathematic in one of its representations, but it's so nuanced that there's no on or off. It's always on, and it's not. Like, I'm not saying that I'm some kind of like master of it. I'm just saying that I'm a true observer of these things that I'm talking about. And the thing that is so defeating to me, the thing that is so frustrating to me, is when people that are on the other side of the argument don't engage with the ideas that I'm espousing, because they're not easy to articulate, because they're a threat to any systematic representation of the universe. I'm not the person that's sitting here telling you I know what's up. I'm sitting here telling you that I know that person that is telling you that they know what's up doesn't know what's up. That's what I'm telling you. Because I know that. Because that person that's trying to teach you about how to think is a charlatan. Get away from that person as fast as you can and get into yourself. And then this is my opinion, take it with a grain of salt. But doing that work of breaking down that inner filter is the most important way that we can have some measure of, what's the sacrament in Catholicism? Communion with the soul, with the source, with creativity, with input, with that is to say, with what's coming from the other side and our ancestors and everything else. These are not new ideas. This is not Devin being prophetic, even though I like to think that I can do that. Like I struggle with narcissism and messiah complexes and shit. That's something that is very hard to overcome, because it moves me to a bigger filter. Oh, I shouldn't listen to that person because they're not on my level. That's not a good way of behaving, and I struggle with that. But what I do know is that when I'm able to do the work that I'm telling you, breaking down my own filter, my life gets better. Like, weirdly. Like, the next interaction that I have is way more positive than it would have been otherwise. Or I'll have some serendipity where I'll see somebody at the right time to have the right conversation to manifest something positive moving forward. And that, I argue, is a component of flowing more effectively. In the same way that DMT showed me what flowing is. And what is it? Well, it's not having a filter. It's being in the play as opposed to watching the play. If all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players, and one person plays many roles in their lifetime, the only thing to do wrong is just watch.
The only thing to do wrong is just watch?
That's right. You are an actor in this play, as am I. And there's a lot to be said for that, right?
But Dr. Dre wouldn't exactly say that's a good thing, would he? He
say
wrote
what?
A song about it.
What's
The
that?
Watcher.
Go on.
Where he just watches reality unfold, and that's how he learns.
Learn all you can, by all means. Learning's great, but at a certain point, you got to play. You got to use what you've learned, don't you? You can't just stand aside.
No.
Or you'll get used. At worst. At best, you'll get helped. At worst, you'll get used.
Okay.
That's my argument for the wisdom of flow, is that when we don't stop ourselves, we can more effectively play whatever roles we have the opportunity to play. I think that's defensible. And I'm no better at it than the next guy. I think that's important to say, because it's easy to lose the profundity of the message in the arrogance of the message.